Hi, I'm Brandon Middleton. I'm an attorney with Pacific Legal Foundation in Sacramento. And you know, when you think about the Endangered Species Act, you think about the federal government regulating endangered species. But a lot of times what happens is that species are left on the endangered species list even though they're not in fact endangered. And this is what has happened with a species called the Valley Elderberry Longhorn Beetle. This is a beetle that is found up and down the Central Valley of California, and in 1980 it was listed as a threatened species under the Endangered Species Act. But in 2006 the United States Fish and Wildlife Service actually took a look at the species, and they determined that no, in fact the species was not a threatened species, that it had recovered, and that accordingly it should not be given federal protection under the Endangered Species Act. But since that 2006 study by the United States Fish and Wildlife Service, the service has unfortunately kept the beetle on the threatened list. Now this is a real problem for people like Bob Slobey and the North Sacramento Land Company, because his property is designated as critical habitat for this beetle. So in other words, Bob Slobey's property can't be developed due to a beetle that is listed as threatened even though it's not endangered.
For example, that field that has nothing out there, the determination was made we can't develop that because we don't know what relationship that has to the survival of the beetle there. That's why they put that into critical habitat, or that's why they say they did. And since you can't build without mitigating, we can't build period in a critical habitat, so that just kind of, that's the end of the game right there. But let's say you could, you'd have to mitigate under our current rules. And under those current rules, you have to mitigate within 100 feet of any elderberry bush. Well, there is no 100 feet anywhere on a whole 9 acres of land. Even though you and I go and look at it and it's completely open, but there's not 100 feet on either, so we can do nothing. We can clean up garbage, and by the way, we are legally responsible for any destruction of this habitat as owners.
The fact that the United States Fish and Wildlife Service is still regulating a species that is actually no longer endangered or threatened is also a public safety issue, because we have here in the Sacramento Valley area irrigation and flood control districts that have to devote substantial money and resources in order to mitigate the effects that their operations have on habitat for the beetle. These districts need to be spending money towards flood control to protect humans, but instead they're spending money to protect the beetle, even though the beetle no longer needs protection. This is an injustice, and it should be corrected, and it should be corrected on behalf of these flood control districts, on behalf of the North Sacramento Land Company and others, and that's why Pacific Legal Foundation has filed a petition with the service requesting and demanding that the beetle be removed from the list of threatened species. If the United States Fish and Wildlife Service does not respond to this petition, then Pacific Legal Foundation fully intends to file a lawsuit to force the United States Fish and Wildlife Service to remove the Valley Elderberry Longhorn Beetle from the list of threatened species under the Endangered Species Act.
For more PLF videos, visit our YouTube channel.